Welcome to the Book Reader channel.
Skate stood at the corner of 7th and Southern Avenue, watching the hustle of Southeast DC unfold in front of him. The smell of greasy chicken, mixed with the sharp stench of weed, filled the air. The sounds of sirens, voices shouting "hey" to the candy lady, and tires screeching from the ice cream truck going down the street made it feel like the city never stopped. This was his world, a world where survival meant being quick on your feet and trusting no one but yourself. "Skate," his boy Smoke called out from across the street. "I hear you dealing in the streets again. When you going to learn?" Skate wiped his hand across his forehead, trying to ignore the familiar sting in his chest. His friends had warned him 100 times, stay away from law. But Skate couldn't. Law was family. "Don't worry about me, Smoke," Skate said, his southern drawl thick as always. "I got this." Smoke shook his head, voice quiet but firm. "Skate, they are dangerous, man. He runs the streets, the clubs, and all those corners. You ain't built for that." But Skate didn't listen. He never did. Growing up in North Carolina, he had come to DC looking for a new life, but he ended up right back where he started. The city pulled him in, and the faster he ran, the harder it gripped him. Law wasn't just a cousin to him. He was his mentor, his protector, and the one person who could teach him how to survive the madness. The warnings didn't matter. Law was his blood. Then the night it all went wrong. The club was packed, the music vibrating through the floor, and the bass shaking his chest. Skate leaned against the bar, his arms crossed. He could hear the laughter, the sound of bottles clinking, and the shuffling of feet, but his eyes were locked on the back door. "Yo, Skate," Law's deep voice interrupted his thoughts. He walked in, a mountain of a man, his gold chains catching the dim lights. "You see anything interesting tonight?" Skate grinned, showing off a row of pearly white teeth. "The same. You know how it is." But something was off. The tension in the room was thick, like everyone was waiting for something to pop off. The kind of tension that only came from being surrounded by killers, thieves, and anyone willing to make a quick dollar in this city. "You sure you want to keep hanging around here, cousin?" Law asked, his tone serious for once. "Man, what you mean?" Skate shrugged, ignoring the doubt in his chest. "I'm good. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to me." Law didn't say anything else. He just lit up a cigarette and took a long drag, watching the room like a hawk. But as always, he was right. The night didn't stay quiet for long. A fight broke out by the bar, from a different crew, and Skate saw the flash of a knife in the scuffle. Without thinking, he was on it, throwing hands with a guy twice his size. When it was all over, the man was sprawled on the floor, a deep gash in his side. Skate stood over him, breathing heavily, adrenaline pumping. Law stepped up beside him, shaking his head. "You messin' with the wrong crew. They from Uptown, Skate. One day, this is gonna catch up to you. You gotta make a choice." Skate wiped his knuckles on his jeans, his southern drawl barely audible over the chaos. "I don't got no choice. Ain't nobody else looking out for me." The neon lights of the Chinese carryout flickered as Law and Skate stepped up to the counter, the weight of the night still hanging on them. The music from the club was a distant hum now, replaced by the quiet buzz of the kitchen and the soft chatter of late-night orders. Law leaned against the counter, his hoodie pulled low over his head, eyes scanning the menu. Skate, ever the more energetic of the two, bounced on his heels, already eyeing the fryer in the back. He caught the server's eye and flashed a grin. "Yo, we need 2 orders of chicken wings fried hard, mambo sauce on the side, and salt and pepper fries. Don't forget the ketchup," Skate said, his voice full of that laid-back confidence, though the flicker of street-smart caution never left his eyes. The server nodded, jotting the order down. But just as she turned to the back, the door swung open. A group of guys, part of the same crew from the bar, walked in, their laughter loud, cutting through the air like a blade. The leader of the group, A tall guy with a snapback turned sideways, shot Law and Skate a sideways glance. "What's good, boys?" He smirked, leaning against the counter, his crew fanning out behind him. "Still out here trying to grab a bite after that show." Law didn't flinch, keeping his eyes on the menu board. But Skate? He didn't like being challenged on his turf. "We good," Skate replied, his tone even, though there was a slight edge to it. "Just hungry." The tension hung in the air for a moment as the group lingered, eyes flicking between Law and Skate, like they were waiting for something to happen. "Y'all still stuck in the past?" the tall guy teased, nodding to the music still echoing faintly from the club. "You know you can't keep holding on to that old scene. You gotta move with the times, Mo." Skate's lips twitched into a grin, but it was sharp, like a knife's edge. "You're right," he said, stepping closer, his voice dropping a touch. "I moved on. Just here for some wings and fries. And that half and half, of course." Law, who had been silent up to this point, finally spoke up. His voice was low, but carrying enough weight to draw attention. "Let's not make this a scene. You're in here for the same thing," he said, his eyes still on the menu, unbothered, unshaken. "Wings, fries, and a drink. That's all we need." The tension fizzled a little. The leader of the group eyed them for a moment longer, then let out a long, slow breath. "All right. No need to get all worked up," he muttered, stepping back. "Just keep it cool. But don't think this is over." With that, the group turned, moving toward the other side of the room, and the air relaxed. Law and Skate exchanged a look, then turned their attention back to the counter. "Two large half and halves," Skate added with a wink as the server returned. Law gave him a half smile. "You know the drill." And just like that, it was all forgotten. Just another late night stop for wings and fries. The kind of meal that could always make things feel right again. A few weeks later, Skate found himself in an even deeper hole. Law had brought him into a job, stealing a mail truck filled with packages, some of which were high-value electronics. It wasn't the first heist Skate had done, but this one felt different. There was too much at stake. The mail truck wasn't just a normal job. Law had told him to be quick, to be smart, but it didn't take long before things went sideways. "Skate, hurry up," one of the crew members yelled as they popped open the back doors of the truck. Skate worked fast, grabbing boxes, tossing them to the others. But then, in the rush, he saw something he wasn't supposed to. A locked briefcase. He broke the lock without thinking and opened it. Inside, there were guns, military-grade rifles, a stash of handguns, and ammunition. The weight of it hit him hard. "Man, you brought us into something real bad this time," Skate whispered to himself. But Law was already outside, barking orders. "Get the car ready. Let's move out." They were in the clear, or so they thought. Will's heart was still thumping in his chest as he tried to shake the feeling of the night's chaos off him. The weight of the stolen electronics in his mind was heavier than any bag he had ever carried. He'd been part of the crew, but now he just wanted to get home, disappear into the shadows, forget everything that went down. As he walked down the empty street, the soft hum of city lights was broken by the sudden flash of red and blue. The sound of tires screeching to a stop made his head snap up. Two police cruisers pulled up at the corner, blocking his path. Will froze, had barely even heard them coming, the adrenaline from earlier still making his thoughts fuzzy. The officers got out of the cars, their boots hitting the pavement with authority. One officer, a tall woman with a no-nonsense look, stepped forward. "Hey, you there," she called, voice cutting through the air. Will's throat tightened, his stomach twisting into knots. He glanced over his shoulder. No escape. The street was empty. His eyes darted around as if he could find some way out of this. But deep down, he knew there was no getting away now. The second officer, a guy in his 30s, scruffy and tired, walked up to him slowly. His eyes narrowed as he took in Will's nervous expression. "Walking home at this hour, huh?" the officer asked, his voice low but carrying the weight of suspicion. "You know, there's been a lot of activity around here tonight." You might have seen something. Will felt the heat of their stares. His palms were clammy, his heart racing. They weren't stupid. They knew something was up. I, I didn't see nothing, Will stammered, trying to keep his voice steady. But he could feel the panic rising. He could barely breathe. Really? The woman officer leaned in, her eyes sharp. Because we've got a nice little stolen mail truck full of electronics that went missing tonight. A lot of people are looking for it. And its driver. You're the guy we see walking away from the scene, right? Will's mind was spinning. He thought about the truck, the heat of the moment when it was stolen, the way the crew had all laughed after pulling it off. He thought about Skate and Law, how they had their own plans for the haul. His feet felt frozen to the sidewalk. He didn't know how to keep lying anymore. The pressure was too much. The officers were closing in, watching him with eyes that said they weren't letting him go without an answer. Sweat drifted down the back of his neck. Will's voice broke, his guilt bubbling to the surface. It wasn't me, all right? I didn't take the truck. But Skate and Law, they're the ones with it. They were the ones who planned it. They got it hidden near the old warehouse on 5th Street. That's where they're keeping it. The words tumbled out before he could stop them. It was like his body couldn't take the weight of the situation anymore. The officers exchanged a quick glance. The woman gave a subtle nod, her eyes cold, calculating. Thanks for your cooperation, she said, her tone no longer questioning, but flat and final. The scruffy officer pulled out his radio and spoke into it, his voice calm, but with urgency. Got some feedback. Headed to 5th Street. Possible location of stolen property. Will's breath came in shallow gasps. The reality of what Head just done sinking in. Head snitched. On his own people. His friends. Get out of here, the officer said dismissively, motioning for him to go. Will didn't need to be told twice. He turned and stumbled away, his feet moving before his brain caught up, as if his body was desperate to put distance between him and the mess he'd just created. As the sound of sirens started to grow distant, Will's mind was still buzzing. He couldn't go back now. He had sold out Skate and Law, and there was no undoing it. The street stretched before him, but no matter how far he walked, the weight of what he'd done felt like it was right there, pressing down on his chest. The police had the whole area surrounded. The mail truck had been reported stolen, and Skate's name was attached to it. Law's operation was now under a microscope. And Skate? He was in deep.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new one. I'll be back with the next episode of the series every Wednesday, so mark your calendars and stay tuned. Catch you next time.